Good evening, everybody. We'll be starting here in about a minute and some change. Okay, we're just giving people time to join us. And I'm so glad that you're with us this evening. Very busy day today. If you haven't checked it out by now, make sure you check out our website, sambatree.com. We're going to be starting. I'm going to give people a little bit more time here. A little bit more time. All right. We'll give it another minute and then we'll start. Okay. I'm just, give people a little time here. We had the inauguration today. I don't know how many people, if you caught all of it, if you caught some of it, let me know in the chat. What did you see? What you think? That kind of thing. I did see some of it. I saw the swearing in. What else did I see? A little bit of the singing. I'm sorry. I had to walk out of the room. When the rabbi got up there, I said, no thanks. And then I said, okay, let me go back to let me go back. And then he said, it was a young black preacher. He was in there. I think I stayed in the room all but 1 second because I already knew where it was going. And I just heard my wife in the other room like, oh my goodness, Dwayne, you got to come see this. I said, no, I can't. I cannot. I'm not. And I will not. I don't want to see any replays. I don't want to see any of that. It just, I just, no. But anyway, it was just really interesting to see the who's and all that sitting up there and all of that. But yeah, a lot of stuff took place today, things that we saw and didn't see, but it was quite interesting to, she said he was way over the top. Yeah, she was telling me the hand gestures and all of that. I was like, I can't, I just, not today. Not today. I can't. I can't put myself through that. All the executive orders, he was very serious about that. All the different executive orders. I was right before I came live here. I was going through all the ones that he signed and he's doing it. So tomorrow's going to be a really interesting day. Someone else said, me too. I can't put myself through that. And see, if I was in the room, I was already thinking, I said, if I was sitting in there, would they let me get up? I was already trying to figure that out because, they got everybody on the scope, and so it's like, you going to stay there, and you going to endure it. And I'm like, I can't. And, it just, sometimes we just be doing way too much. And I just, But anyway, I'm trying to think of what other parts I saw. I know there was a lot of other things going on and all that. I just looked at C-SPAN because when I went to, I think when I first logged on this morning, I said, oh, Candace Owens, she's doing like a stream kind of commentary, but I couldn't watch but so much of it because I just wanted to hear what was going on. So I jumped to C-SPAN, which with C-SPAN, you just gonna get the straight whatever it is that's broadcasting at that time. And then the lady that got up there to sing and the sound equipment wasn't working. I was like, oh, I guess that person ain't got a job now, man. Hold on. How you gonna screw that up? And I was like, oh, I said, well, maybe we ain't hearing it, but it's playing in there. But no, I just saw people looking around. I was like, oh, shoot. And so, yeah, I guess they're not going to be, guess they're going to be on LinkedIn looking for something now because, yeah, that was wild. And then what else did I notice? I'm trying to think of what else I saw. Oh, the Bidens getting on the plane or the helicopter or whatever. And they just try to get him in there as quick as possible. Because, I thought he was going to do like the final wave. Nah, they just pushed him and he kept on going in there. I was like, dang, okay. Someone else said, they say he summoned MLK. He tried to. You can't do, only person that could do MLK is MLK. And other than that, leave him alone. Leave him alone. If you want to hear MLK do his thing, then come here on YouTube and watch his speeches. But other than that, there's nobody that can do MLK. Nobody. I don't care who they are. Nobody. And the only person that I could think of that did MLK, but it was funny, it was on the Boondocks. It was on the Boondocks, but that one quite MLK. But you understand. You understand what I'm saying? But other than that, there's just nobody. There's nobody that can really do MLK. You got to leave him alone. Let it go. Let it go. I know today was his day and all of that, but just if you want to reminisce MLK and his speeches and all of that, and I would advise all our people to do that from time to time. Just listen to him directly. Don't go with no reenactment. I wouldn't even try to do it. Not seriously. I wouldn't even touch it. Yeah, it's like someone trying to do Whitney. Who was it that played in the was it a Whitney bioptic and someone was playing her? I could only hear but two notes. I said, turn it off. Turn it off. I can't hear it. You know what I'm saying? It just, some things, it's just let it be. Don't remake it. Just let it go. Just let the memory be there. Don't soil it with all these different impersonations. Just leave it. Let it go. Let it go. But I know they're still doing all their thing or whatever. One of the executive orders that was signed was telling all the federal workers, you better get your behind back up in here. They said only 6% of federal workers actually work in the office. I was like, wow, they got it like that. I didn't know that. I'm sure I got some family members in there because I got family members in the DC area. I'm sure they probably impacted by that. They probably not too happy, but that's going to be really something to see how that gets executed. The pardons. How about that? How about the pardons? Oh my goodness. I mean, did we not see that coming? And then the one I saw that was like, dang, he just didn't give nothing. He didn't give anything. When they said he pardoned his whole family, I was like, dang. I said, I guess everybody had their knees in something. Cause they said he pardoned his whole family. When I heard that, I was like, dang, that's wild. But yeah, he pardoned his family. Fauci, he got his pardon. That general, that trying to back channel to China, he got his pardon. Who was it? There was the J6 committee. They got pardoned. Everybody got pardoned. Everybody got pardoned. And how does that? And I was just sitting here thinking, I said, how does that make one feel that the person, the top doctor that was advising you're going to have to do this thing. I got to talk abbreviated on this plantation. You're going to have to take this thing. You're going to have to take this thing because we did this or did it. You're going to have to take it, right? But then he gets a pardon. He gets a pre-pardon. I mean, why are you getting a pardon if everything you did was legit? Why you need a whole presidential pardon if everything you did was legit? That, you know what I mean? Think about this. I mean, and the sad thing is there's going to be so many people that don't even process that at all. That's like if I bought a car, for example, there'll be more reactions if someone bought a car and then they find out a year later that that manufacturer is guilty of something. We don't know what, but they're guilty of something. And it has a lot to do what they sold to you. Wouldn't that make you start asking questions about things? I know it would for me. But unfortunately, a lot of people just too slow these days. That, if anything in the world, that would have me asking some serious questions. But it probably ain't for most people, and they're not going to ask anything. They're just going to keep right on rolling. Ain't that something? But here we are. But yeah, handing out pardons all over the place. Well, you know, Biden ain't the only one, but there was, I think I found a list here. Maybe I'll post it on the community page. They said Biden, I forgot how many total pardons he's given out. The number is astronomical in comparison to the other presidents. It's not even comparable. Oh, and the other thing he said, Trump said he's going to be releasing the paperwork or whatever, all the classified documents regarding JFK, RFK, MLK. That's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. But, you know, we'll see how much info they're going to really release. It's kind of like the, was it the Air Force? The Air Force, they have a whole separate unit that studies folks on social media, citizens. And so it was asked, hey, listen, you need to show us the paperwork on exactly what you're doing. And we're going to go through the Freedom of Information Act. And they was like, okay, we'll give that to you. And they made it public. They showed it. All you saw was nothing but black. Nothing but black. It was more black on there than what I see out here. It was more black on that sheet of paper than I see walking in some of these neighborhoods out here. I'm telling you. And it was crazy. But it's going to be really interesting to see what comes up with this. How much information will they actually release? Or is it going to be more just stuff that's reacted or whatever, redacted? But we'll see what happens. Someone said, why don't he release his taxes? Hey, why don't he? You know how it goes. And then I was looking at the faces too of what's her name? Kamala Harris, her husband, Elon Musk up there in his weird face. He up there doing all this, you know, just whatever. Who else is on there? All the technocrats, they were all back there as well. It's going to be really interesting. It was just really an interesting thing. So yeah, I did see, you know, just enough of it. Once I'm finished with this, I'm probably going to switch over and see if they're doing anything else. I'm sure by now they're probably doing the balls and all that kind of stuff. So I'll tell you, that is one space I would not want to be in. I just can't be around a bunch of phony people. That's very difficult for me. Very difficult for me. Hey, Dwayne, come in, man. You know, hey, man, I just want to see how you doing, man. Hey, listen, hey, in my car, and then I ain't got time for that, man. Just get out my face. Get out my face. But there are people that really like that stuff. It just ain't me. But anyway, so this broadcast, so glad that you guys are here. I was just catching up on in case you just tuned in, we were just catching up on the inauguration stuff and just, you know, just seeing what, you know, just chatting that up a little bit. But good to see everybody that's here in the chat. That's coming up in here and grabbing your seat and all that. Really appreciate that. And yes, I am. Yours truly is on the mend. I'm feeling better than I did yesterday. And so I feel very grateful for that. I was outside. I sat down. Next thing I know, I was knocked out. I was asleep. And my daughter said, "Dad, please stop getting darker." I was like, "Why?" And I looked in the mirror. I had gotten darker because, the sun is always shining out here. And it was just so nice out here. And but it was so quiet and peaceful in the backyard. I was just sat down. Next thing I know, I was knocked out. And it just felt so good. So good. This is the best time of the year. If you're going to fall asleep outside, this is it. Don't do it in the summertime because you'll be dead. Okay. But you don't want to do it then. But, during this time of the year, in the daytime, it is a dream. It's a dream, man, for real. But anyway, so for tonight's broadcast, we're going to talk about this thing here. That's why I was kind of like chatting it up a little bit, because once I start, I want to make sure as many people as possible see this video clip that I'm going to start it. Well, we're going to get into first, because I don't want people to miss it. Okay. But anyway, clear it out. Come on, Dwayne. Anyway, so tonight, what we're going to talk about is, I know that many of you have noticed the trend that, with TikTok, it was going to be taken down. And yes, it was taken down for a little bit, but then it came back up. But while it was down, all of a sudden, all these people just started running over to another Chinese-owned app called Red Note. And we were talking about, so there was a lot of talk about that. And you had people already lined up trying to learn a little bit of Mandarin and trying to get their way around there. And I saw black folks, even at the first question they're asking is, "Are you guys racist over here? Do you guys actually like black people?" And I sat up there and I thought about that. I said, when I go into an environment, I really don't care what environment it is. I really don't. I mean, it could be where I know is some racist people up in here. There is nothing that comes in my mind where the first question I want to ask is, "Do y'all like black people over here?" I don't ask that. I'm like, either you do or you don't. If you don't, I don't care. I bet you like green, don't you? Well, that's why I'm here for. I'm not here to make no friends or anything. But, but I saw and it was a lot of people, from what I understand, that was asking this question on the Red Note app. They were asking them, "Do y'all like black people? Are y'all racist over here? We don't know, can you help?" And I'm like, why are you coming over like that? And it spoke volumes of some much deeper issues that we might touch on in this broadcast, but it's just too much to really be handled in one broadcast. It speaks of how you see yourself, that it's a second, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like, am I welcome up in here? Why are you asking? Either you are or you're not. I said, begging for that's right. I bet they love that information they sucking up from my phone. But anyway, so yeah, I've seen, I don't have it on my phone, but screenshots and stuff I've seen, yeah, unfortunately, I'm seeing a number of black folks that are, not all, there's some over there that are legitimately, they just doing their thing or whatever, but I've seen some flashing all the dumb stuff that you see, some of our people doing on TikTok. They're bringing it right on over there to Red Note. But what really stuck out to me was seeing people like Candace Owens. She also jumped and went over there too. And she did this long talk about, how, we're going to show the system, that, at the end of the day, it's about freedom of speech. And even if we have to go to China, we're going to do it and all this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, sis. Aren't you the whole, USA #1 freedom and all this other stuff? And down with everybody else. Aren't you that same person? But it was like switching to a show enough Chinese owned app. Not that TikTok isn't, but the switch over to it was like just, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And we're gonna show the system something tonight or today by switching over here, and we're gonna start learning the truth about the system and all this. And I'm sitting up here like, it was just, what really stuck out to me was just how easy it was for so many people to just switch over. Now, truth be told, for me, someone like me, at the end of the day, I'm very aware that whatever the heck I put on this phone, whoever wants to see it, these powers that shouldn't be, they already got access. So all those little notches and stuff, they try to make you feel like, oh, I'm right. I'm going to hit this button and they ain't going to be able to access my contact list. If I hit this button right here, the only people I approve of, they'll be able to see my pictures. Man, you sitting up there, you're a fool. You're a whole fool if you think that your little ashy finger is going to put a halt to the CIA. The CIA, wait a minute. Hold up now. Operation Get a Negro is officially over. What happened? He hit the green button, y'all. He hit the checkbox. We can't do it. We cannot do it. We cannot get those pictures of him. We can't do it because he hit the button, and now we can't access anything right now. We can't. We had to draw the line. Because this is America. We don't do that here. So no, you go through it and it makes you feel good. If you want to, there are videos out here say that here are the things that you need to do once you get your phone, or once you do the upgrade, you hit this button and then you hit that button and all this other stuff. I sometimes go through the exercise, but listen, if they want to get something off your phone, they get it while you sleep. They get it while you talking. They're going to get it whenever. All them pictures when they talk about it's going to the cloud, you think that cloud is over your house? Huh? No, the cloud is at the CIA office, okay, or the whatever offices they got going on out there. That's the cloud. That's where it's going. Oh, but it's Apple. Please, if they want to get your stuff, they will get your stuff. That's just what it is. That is the reality that we live in. So that's the United States. China doing the same thing, been doing the same stuff. So, you really don't see that much of a difference, but doggone it, I got to draw the line somewhere because dang, they taking you got other countries now sucking your stuff up. So, you got to draw the line somewhere, but the United States is nowhere near a position to try to act as if somehow, oh my goodness, they're leaking secrets. Like there was, people in the Navy, for example, who are on a ship and they're on Red Note taking pictures of the ship and inside the ship and all this other stuff. And then you got congressmen, I'm like, how dare you? How dare you doing? You're just leaking this information to the Chinese or whatever. And I'm like, well, they do this on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok all the time. You ain't got nothing to say, but all of a sudden Red Note, oh, you can't do it on Red Note? You think the Chinese spies are like, now, wait a minute. Chow Wing, we cannot access Facebook because Facebook is an American app and we can't access it ever. You got it? Chow, Mr. Chow, you can't do Agent Chow. You cannot access Facebook because that's for the Americans. Okay, you can't do it. We can only access what we got over here. You think they're limited by that? Anything you post on social media, it's already out there. And whoever wants it is out there. That's why I said, before you take that picture, make sure you're not careless. In other words, some people be taking pictures of their whole behind. Why you do that? Why? Don't do that. Well, this is just to my husband, and I'm gonna show him my breastises, and I'm gonna show him this and all this stuff, and it's just to my husband. Nobody else is gonna see. What? Child, they probably got a whole room where they be sitting up there laughing at your behind, literally, in the FBI and CIA. Talking about, you see, you see her behind, just as ashy and wide, and she think that look good. No, your stuff all over the place. It's too late. It's too late now. It's over. Your information is all the way out there. So, all this song and pony dance or whatever it is that they're doing when it comes to information getting out there, it's already out there. But remember when I was saying that when it comes to our information, I did a video a while back talking about a code of ethics that not just Black people as a group, but as individuals, you have to know where to draw the line when it comes to where your information goes, who has that information and all of that. And it's something that you got to take time in, and really putting a lot of thought into that. You know what I mean? And not just carelessly throwing stuff out there. And because if you don't think about these things before you hit record or upload or whatever, your stuff is going to be just all over the place for real. So, it's just something to really seriously think about. Now, tonight, as we're talking through this, what we're going to look at is going to be just a 2-part thing. I'm looking at my time right now. I think we'll be out here in about an hour, y'all. So it's about a 2-part thing we're going to. Now, this first part here, it's not I want to point out this to you. It is not a coincidence that we're seeing a lot of this Chinese or Asian influence in the tech world. It's a whole lot of Asian. I don't know if you noticed that. And I'm not just talking China. I'm talking Japan. I'm talking any of the groups that are identified as Asian. You see them come up quite a bit, don't you? And I want you guys, the reason why it took me a minute to put this video together was because of this video here that I put together for you guys. And I want you to take a look and listen at this video I put together, because as I was mentioning yesterday, they have been preparing us for what we're seeing now. This whole technological landscape that we're on right now that has these Asian influences. They've been preparing us for this for a moment. And so I want you to watch this short video first. And then when we come back, we're going to look particularly at Africa and Blacks beyond, like beyond Africa. And where do we fit in all of this? Do we fit in any of this at all? Well, I have some answers for you tonight. So what we're going to do, let me go ahead and put this video up for you. And let's start the conversation. Let's continue the conversation, I should say, with this. All right, so let's go. Time Hollywood wants to portray a futuristic time period, they tend to always show a society, a world that has been heavily influenced, either with overtones or undertones of Asian culture. Like in this scene here from Fifth Element, here you have Bruce Willis, the character he's playing, being served by an Asian chef, but he's not on a boat. He's actually on some type of craft. In the movie The Matrix, we also find a lot of heavy Asian influence, more on the side of spirituality and philosophy, but it's definitely there. You also see those same type of influences in the movie The Creator. This is a very well done movie. And in this movie, you have a child who happens to be an Asian and is one that is tasked with saving humanity. And as you can see, there was just Asian influences all throughout this film. In the movie 2012, we find out that China has been tasked with building these mega technological wonders. They are referred to as arcs, or they're just large ships whose responsibility was to protect certain people in society in large numbers. And even in the video game world, we see this influence of Asian culture. We see it all the time, especially in these popular games such as, this game here, Cyberpunk, where we see an entire world that has been heavily influenced by this culture. Now, beyond the screen, we're seeing that once again, in this case, we're talking Chinese culture has a major influence in the technology that we use, such as DJI, which is a Chinese-owned company, and they are practically leading the way when it comes to consumer drones and action cams as well. I know the music was a little dramatic, but I was rushing last minute. But anyway, I hope you guys got the point. We've been being prepared for this for a very long time, and it was something that always piqued my interest as to why this view from a Western standpoint of the future tends to always have like these Asian influences in there, and the influences tend to be more on the side of the philosophical, religious, spiritual, influences, right? And I found that to be interesting. What I also noticed too was that when it came to other cultures beyond that, you don't really see influences stemming out of Africa. Not really. Now you have things like a genre, Afrofuturism, but a lot of times Afrofuturism, it's a good start, but it does in many ways rely on the technological viewpoints of what the West has birthed, right? We can even look at Hispanic culture, Spanish culture, or whatever, Aztec or whatever. I mean, when you really think about, when you start studying just in a little bit of Aztec culture, there's a lot of things you can, when you really begin to study it, you really begin to see these people weren't dummies at all. Just like in Africa, same thing. The technology in of itself is really an expression of spirituality. You cannot have technology really without this base of spirituality. We have a podcast series. It was a short one. I'm going to repost it. I don't know if it's up now or not, but I'm going to repost it. There's some things I had to move around a little bit, but it was called Tech Tribes. And what we did was we looked at all the technological advancements that came out of Africa, some that some people may not be aware of, others you may not be aware of. But my focus is really on the ancient technological advancements going back thousands of years. And when you begin to look at technology from that vantage point, you begin to see that their definition of technology was way different than how we define technology today. Like, for example, technology for us today is, all the information that we can hold on or transmit from this device we call cell phone. But technology in ancient cultures back then, it included things like trees and animals and, being able to read star systems and all that kind of stuff, right? And so it was a lot multi-dimensional, and I would say your body and your being was part of this technology. You understand what I'm saying? So, so technology has a different definition depending on the culture, but make no mistake about it, the technology that we are part of today, this technological revolution or this wave that we're part of right now, we are in fact playing around in the matrix, if you will, or the construct of people and their belief system, what their own spirituality. And this is something that people need to be very aware of. It's more than just picking up a phone and just being able to send text and all of that stuff. There's some deeper roots to this, you know what I mean? From a spiritual standpoint, and it's coming from the spirituality of the people, in their own belief system. And this is why you got to be very aware of these things when you're doing anything when it comes to technology, And so anyway, so yes, I'm going to try to bring that series back. It's called Tech Tribes. And what was I going to say? So yeah, so I was just very curious of this. I'm like, why is it that we're not seeing, we don't really see African influences in these futuristic projections or imaginative movies or stuff, whatever. We don't see African influences. We don't see some of these other influences from these other indigenous groups and all of that. And I just found that to be quite interesting. So I did what I did, do sometimes, is I went to ChatGPT, and it took me kind of some time to come up with this question here. So I'm going to actually put it on the screen here, and so you can see for yourself. Let me close this out here. All right, let me put that up. Yeah, we went to the National Museum in Mexico City and met, boy, oh boy, if you ever get a chance to go there, please do. I mean, you talk about advanced civilization. I mean, it's just, it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind. Okay, so here we go. So I'm posting everything so you can see it. I said, you are a brutally honest PhD level futurist. That's what I'm telling ChatGPT. Talk right. ChatGPT. And that's a good way to start. Like if you're setting the tone for the conversation and you're telling it to think like, or to operate like, in this case, as a PhD level futurist. All right. And so then I dove in and here's my question. I got all kind of things going on. I'm sorry. When I look at the general trends of technology today, they tend to be heavily inspired by both Western ideas and Asian influences. And those Asian influences are typically spiritual in nature. However, when it comes to African influences, those influences are very rare and in most cases never seen as influences that this new wave of technology relies on for influence. Now it's understood that over the more recent years, Africa has been a recipient of technology assistance from outside sources. But when it comes to Africans developing their own modern day technologies and their own modern day techno ecospheres, that is something we do not see. In many ways, it just seems as if the continent of Africa is being groomed to be a recipient on one hand of this next wave of technology, but also one that provides the natural resources it requires to run, that is required to run this new technological wave that ultimately controls systems all over the world. But never but never being in a position where both innovation and control of natural resources are singularly handled by Africans themselves. And if you know, and I said, could you provide your take on this observation? That's what happens when you write a question down. You do speech to text. Sometimes it just breaks it up a little bit. But I hope y'all got what I'm asking there. And so I want to repeat it. But anyway, and then here's the response here, and I thought it was very, very interesting here. It says, your observation highlights a critical and ongoing issue in the intersection of global technological advancement and Africa's role within it. Here's a brutally honest assessment based on historical trends, geopolitical realities, and emerging dynamics. Number one, Africa as a resource provider, not a driver. Historically, Africa has been positioned as a supplier of raw materials rather than a center for innovation or industrialization. The colonial day legacy entrenched this dynamic by structuring African economies around the extraction and export of resources like minerals, oils, and agricultural products to fuel the industrialization elsewhere. This dependency model persists today in the form of cobalt for batteries, coltan for electronics, and other critical minerals essential for modern technologies. While Africa possesses the resources that underpin global technological systems, its nations often lack the infrastructure, capital, and political stability to transform these raw materials into finished products or technological ecosystems controlled by Africans. This lack of vertical integration ensures that Africa remains a recipient of technology rather than a driver of innovation. Number two, Western and Asian technological dominance. Western nations and increasingly Asian nations, especially China, dominate the creation and deployment of technology. These regions have established ecosystems that integrate research institutions, venture capital, and manufacturing, creating a pipeline for constant innovation. Their cultural influences like Western rationalism or Eastern spiritualism are embedded in the technologies they produce. In contrast, African indigenous knowledge systems, which are rich and diverse, have not been codified or systemized into frameworks that can drive technological deployment. This isn't due to a lack of creativity or intelligence, but rather systemic barriers that like lack of funding, brain drain, and a prioritization of external rather than internal markets. This is really something here. It was something I wanted to, highlight here. Let's see, let me go back here. I wanted to make sure. Okay, Western nations and increasingly Asian nations, especially China, dominate the creation and deployment of technology. These regions have established ecosystems that integrate research. Okay, manufacturing. Okay, it's going to get more into the point I want to make here in a little bit here. Okay, number three, Africa's current position, groomed for dependency. Africa's relationship with global technology is increasingly characterized by dependency. First point, infrastructure by outsiders. Major products such as telecommunications networks are often funded and constructed by non-African entities such as China through its Belt and Road Initiative. These projects frequently come with strings attached, including debt traps and strategic concessions. And it also includes things like dams, building some of the roads and stuff like that. If I had the time, I would show you, a lot of times for those who aren't familiar, you'll hear people complain about the roads and stuff in throughout Africa. And it was a video on YouTube, and they were going through in Congo, and it was just horrible, the road conditions. And then you have the ferries as well. The ferries are just as bad too in many cases. and dangerous. And so when it comes to transportation, it's very difficult. And what it does is stymies growth, any potential growth in, throughout many places in Africa. But what you are seeing is China, mainly China, and then I think to a lesser extent, Russia, coming in, and they actually are starting to build these infrastructures, which when these infrastructures are completed, like major bridges, they're building up the ports and stuff like that. It's going to revolutionize, or it's already doing it, revolutionize Africa in many, 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 many ways. But like this thing is saying here is that at the same time, it's not necessarily, there's a big exchange for that. You know what I mean? All right. Consumer markets. African countries are viewed as emerging markets for technologies developed elsewhere. That's a very good point. Let me read it again. African countries are viewed as emerging markets for technologies developed elsewhere rather than hubs of technological innovation themselves. For instance, smartphone penetration is growing, but the devices and ecosystems are controlled by foreign companies. And then the next point, brain drain. Many of Africa's brightest minds in science and technology are educated abroad and often remain there, contributing to innovation in the West or Asia rather than on the continent. Number 4, why Africa's innovation struggle to scale. Africa does have innovation, particularly in mobile payment systems. Example is M-Pesa, renewable solutions, and health tech. However, these innovations rarely scale globally due to lack of investment, fragmented markets, and limited IP protections. And and then you can read there the details there. I'm just trying to get through it for y'all. Number 5, potential for change. Despite these challenges, there are opportunities for Africa to assert itself. First point, leverage the resource advantage. Africa could demand greater participation in the value in the value chain of its natural resources. For example, instead of exporting raw cobalt, African nations could invest in local processing and battery production facilities. And that is happening. I'm starting to hear some countries that are actually trying to raise that bar and say, no, we want to do all the production here. I was actually watching a video. Is a African young lady. She has a coffee business. I think it's based in New York or on the West Coast or something. I can't remember exactly right now, but it was doing quite well. Her family owns a coffee farm on the continent, and but they had to. But what was happening is they'll grow the beans and then they just immediately ship it over here where it was all processed and all of that. But what they're trying to do now is saying, no, we want to do all the processing and then everything there. Same thing when it comes to leather. Many of you, or maybe not all of you, have you ever heard of Italian leather? Did you know that most things that we call that's made out of Italian leather doesn't come from Italy? Most of that, what we call Italian leather, actually comes from Africa. And I forgot the name of which country it is, but a lot of that, it comes from Africa. And it's just Italy buys it up and they just call it Italian leather. But what happens is Africa produces the skins and then they ship it to Italy. And then the Italians, they process it and all that stuff. But what if Africans say, you know what? No, we're going to do the whole thing all here. And then we'll ship it to Italy. We'll ship it to here. We'll ship it to there and all that other stuff, right? That's the kind of thinking they're saying is required here. Embrace indigenous knowledge systems. Africa has a wealth of spiritual, ecological, and medicinal knowledge that could inspire unique technological paradigms. For instance, biomimicry and eco technologies that could draw from traditional African practices of living in harmony with nature. Let's see, what do I want to share on that one without saying too much? Basically, I'll just say this, that there's a lot of things we don't share here on YouTube, on social media, but I will mention this is that we were actually working with some individuals on the continent who were actually going into the bush. I mean, like in the cut, and trying to retrieve, because they was telling us how many different plants that are out there in the continent, in areas that people don't even go. I mean, even the people who live in these lands, a lot of times they don't go into that part of the bush. And so there were people that were sent out to try to gather these things. And then there was a lab involved to try to study these plants and to find out all this other stuff. Because that's what we wanted to do. And then, and so there was there's a plan in place and on that. And now it's kind of like, that's going to probably take a little bit longer to get to that point. But the amount of barriers, I will just mention this, the amount of barriers that they had to go through just to get a few steps done. It was a lot. It was a whole lot. It was a whole lot. I'm talking internal stuff. And it's extremely frustrating, because it's not as easy as just, hey, we just work together and we just, it's a lot. There's a lot, unfortunately, that, it's very difficult. Even if people are there, even the people that are there, they will tell you that. But that has to be broken through. Meanwhile, you got these European pharmaceutical companies that go in there all the time and they just snatch up what they want and just keep it moving. And they're making billions of dollars off of these different plants and stuff like that. And then on the real, you got locals who really don't know a whole lot about some of the plants and herbs that are in certain parts of where they live. I'm just giving you real talk. And so it's really frustrating, but this is what happens when, and I'm sure many of you have heard that when I wanted to say that a lot of these African countries tend to have a much younger population because the older people are dying off. And when the older people, and someone had a saying I heard the other day, I thought it was really good. They said, anytime an elder dies, they say it's like a library closes down or something like that. Just think of all these African elders who have just gone away. And with that is all this knowledge that have been passed down about these different herbs and plants and stuff that's going away with them. There's thousands and thousands of plants and herbs that are just growing there. And unfortunately, you got people who are there and they don't even know what they do. Along with the spirituality that, all of that. There's a lot of that information that unfortunately is going there. And so what happens is the Europeans come in and they take that information, and what they do is that they merge it with their spirituality, their Greco-Roman spirituality, and then they repurpose it and give it to you. And by the time it gets to you, it has turned into a poison. I hope you're hearing me. Anyway, let's move on. Techno-nationalism. African governments must actively champion domestic innovation through policy funding and education. Ethiopia's homegrown social media platforms and Rwanda's push for drone technology are steps in the right direction. And then the last point under this section is Pan-African collaboration. I know some of y'all already just rolling your eyes at that, but I'm going to read it anyway. In initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area could help create a unified market, allowing African technologies to scale more easily. Let me see what else. The risk of perpetual subjugation without deliberate intervention. Africa risks remaining a techno colony where it supplies the raw materials and provides a consumer base, but has little to say in the design, production, or governance of the technologies that dominate its future. This creates a dangerous cycle where technological control becomes a new form of colonialism. what some scholars call digital neocolonialism. They're already there with that. And then what are the solutions? A path forward for Africa to transition from a recipient to a creator of technology. It must, number one, prioritize STEM education tailored to African realities and needs. Next point, invest in infrastructure and research that encourages homegrown innovation. Next point, build regional alliances to pool resources and talent. And then the next one is to protect intellectual property and to reward innovators. I know it's a whole mouthful there, but I thought it was a very, very good response. I thought it was a very, very good response. Now, that's Africa. And I know here in America, you got this whole anti-Africa thing, and that's their problem. That's it. And, you know, we ain't got that problem over here. Well, here's the thing. Yes, you do. Because let me show you this. Because when you look at who are the ones when it comes, because you notice that last part talked about the STEM recipients, the people who are involved in STEM. Well, let's take a look at the demographic breakdown of people involved in STEM here in, at least in the United States. This is the breakdown of it. 67.9% are white, 15% are Asian, Hispanic or Latino is 9.1, unknown is 4.6, Black or African American 3.3%. When you're not sitting in the engineer seat, see, an engineer innovates, they create things, they build things. Outside of that, you're just a recipient. You understand what I'm saying? You're just a recipient of their technology. This is why you're seeing what you're seeing. And and so folding it back to the earlier part of our conversation this evening, when we were talking about how, you know, I was just sitting back and just seeing how, and almost in total amazement to see just how people just I was seeing the numbers of Black folks that just folded over to that. And over to Red Note. And to do what exactly? To start businesses? No. To continue to do the stuff that Black folks tend to do on these platforms. You know, any of the ideas you may have when it comes to, you know, music, the dancing, you know, those kind of things. You're just putting all that in there. Again, when you look at the technology that's coming out right now, and it's coming out literally every week, you can take somebody, you come up with a dance move, and then you can run it through an AI generator. And then I could say, alter this dance move to include this, this, and this. And then you can patent it and say, that's my own dance move. Just like that. I was just reading today, they said now there's a AI app, and now they shut it off to the public. And now they're only marketing this to the government and agencies. And what it is, they said now they don't care what picture you upload. It doesn't matter what picture you upload. The AI technology will be able to take virtual soil samples of where, if you're standing at the beach somewhere, or, you know, or the trees, it's going to analyze everything in that picture and with pinpoint accuracy determine where and when that picture was taken. That's how tight this thing is becoming right now. And so, so the question is, have we been groomed to be consumers? And it's not just in Africa, but also I'm talking Black Americans as well. And I would say a resounding yes to that. You know, a lot of times you will hear, you know, on social media, oftentimes, you know, you'll hear Black folks saying, taking great pride in, oh, we build everything. We built this, we built that, we built this, we built that, we built this. Okay, you were part of the innovation process, but it wasn't everybody. It was certain ones. That's number one. Number two, do you control it? I keep coming back to this over and over again. People want to keep saying, yeah, we built this country, we built this. You want to keep saying that, but I keep asking the most simplest of questions. Do you control it? Because if you don't control it, then what's the point? you no different than that guy that's like in his mid 50s or so. He going to his old high school and talking about, yeah, see, they put my jersey up there. You see my jersey up there. Do you think them kids care about if your jersey's up there or not? They don't. After a while, people don't care about that. You may care about that, but everybody else don't. Them young bucks don't care about your dusty old jersey up there. They don't. And that's what you see a lot of on social media amongst our people when it comes to this topic of innovation. Yes, our history has many people, black folks, who have innovated, who did develop things. But we also, again, somewhere down the line, that innovation has decreased dramatically. And not just with black folks, but with many other demographics as well. But there are some demographics, some demos, they're still going up and they're still climbing up. You could say what you will about these H-1B Indians or whatever that's coming over. You could say what you want about them, but they at least are trained to understand the value and importance of technology, particularly in the area of engineering and sciences. I was reading a little bit today about, I went back a little bit. I was reading about, what's his name? Elon Musk, his father. He was involved in that technocratic technocracy incorporation. It was this organization that he was part of, where basically they saw society as their view of society would be a society that's controlled by engineers. That's their view. People who are technologically astute, people who are the thinkers. They build things, they create things. And that was something that was kind of laughed at back then. But here we are. When you looked at that stage today, who'd you see all up there sitting behind Trump? You saw all them technological folks back there. And I ask you, go back and look at the tape. How many black folks you saw sitting up there? Oh, that's racism and all that. Because it's racism. You can blame whatever you want. I'm just showing you the facts. It doesn't matter. You can blame whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So what are some of the things that we can do? Well, it gave me some advice in here, some of the basic things we can do. What I would add is that technology, for better or worse, it is something that you should use. But you also need to be an individual that knows how to draw the line when it comes to using it. I don't know if he's on here tonight, but we have the coach that comes on here, and he's developing an educational program, home-based educational program, and he's using AI to assist them in building some of the back end and all that stuff, the programming and all that has to be done. I'm actually, as old as I am, I'm like, I was going to start it last week, but then, I was under the weather. I'm starting it this week and learn. I'm just stair-stepping a little bit. I'm going to learn about prompt engineering and then see how I get through on that. Then I'm going to move on to some other things too, because I want to be able to use this technology, but at the same time, have the understanding and knowing where to draw the line with it. In other words, I ain't going to be living like George Jetson, where my rusty, dusty behind going to be just sitting back and to say, okay, today AI wipe my behind and cook my food and all that. It ain't going to get like that. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, coach is on here. I still want to have control. My issue isn't, for me, it's not an issue of I don't have ideas. My issue a lot of times, I don't have enough hands to execute it. You know what I'm saying? And so with AI, this technology, what it does, it helps you to get some of these things done. You know what I mean? That's when you get into that whole AI agents and all that other stuff. And I'm starting to, I'm like, man, listen, I ain't going to be sitting up here rotting away. I'm going to learn this stuff. You know what I mean? But at the same time, have the understanding on and the understanding of drawing the line. Because my mind is my mind. You know what I'm saying? And I'm never going to just hand that over to any machine. So as you are, as this technology is coming about, It's going to be important for you to know that balance. But at the same time, realize where this technology, what their intents, what their plan is for you. And that is they want to see you as a consumer. So that's why it upsets me sometimes when I see a lot of our people, the only, like you see me do, with these old cartoons and stuff I do sometime with the AI images and stuff like that. But see, I want to think even bigger than that. You know what I mean? I came up with a coloring book. I did a coloring book with it one day, but I want to think even bigger than that. What are some other things I can do with these images? You understand what I'm saying? Where I still have great control over this stuff, and I'm able to use it as a bridge to get our people to learn more about our history, our culture, and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why this stuff you just got to know how to play it. But just to sit back and think as a consumer only, you're not going to win. You're going to be left in the dust. And so, and I'll close out with this. Trump had mentioned, Nicole, she had asked me about, what do you think about, Trump, he had mentioned about he's going to bring manufacturing back to the United States and all that. What do you think is going to happen with that or whatever? And I said, well, I think in reality, he's not going to roll back the clock to 1980 somewhere where we're going to have these warehouses, not warehouses, but, plants where, they're just, like Laverne and Shirley type plants, where the blue collar workers there and they're building stuff. No, it ain't going to be that. It's not going to be that. You're going to need to have the understanding, the American worker, blue collar worker now, they're going to have to be able to walk in the door. See, back in my dad's day, someone can walk into a plant and as long as you had the will to work, you can get a job. But the plants they're talking about now, you're going to have to come in with some level of knowledge and understanding and expertise, when it comes to like fixing robots, you know what I mean? And fixing these things. You're going to have some knowledge of those things. These drivers, these Uber drivers, they're going to be coming from them next, because they're going to automate all of that. These Amazon delivery guys, they're coming from them next. Everything's going to be automated. So you're going to have the understanding of, you got to think ahead of the curve is what I'm saying, to stay up. Because if you think that all of a sudden now they're going to be building cars from scratch around, it ain't going to be like like it was back in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. It ain't going to be like that. You're going to have come in the door with a little bit of greater knowledge. But at the same time, you cannot think in this technological wave that we're in right now. You cannot think or operate as just a consumer, because if you think as a consumer, you're going to be stuck there. Do you understand what I'm saying? And but their plans are very clear when it comes to Black culture, African culture, whatever you want to call it. The plans are very clear, is that your culture is not needed. Africa is seen as pretty much a resource point to get the natural resources that are needed to run these technological machines that are all over the world. But as far as the people are concerned, no, the people are already being groomed to just be recipients of this technology. That's what's happening. And so, and it's the same thing with Black folks all over, regardless if we're in Central, South America, up here in the North America area, whatever, they have already trained you to be a consumer. I just showed you the STEM figures right here. 3% of Black folks are participating in the STEM program. 3% compared to, what was it? 68% made up of white people. And then you got Asian, that's 15%. It's probably a little bit higher than that. So these are just things that, to keep in mind here. And I like doing this, and I'll probably be doing more of these kind of broadcasts here, because this is my area. I'm interested in the futurism and technology and all that. I don't talk about it here a lot on this platform, but I'll be revisiting this a little bit more. And because it's something very important. And you may be, Dwayne, I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, child or whatever. But listen, there are still a lot of things you can do. There are. So don't let this stuff, go over your head too much. You know what I mean? And just try to stay at least on top of some of these things so you know exactly what's up. Most importantly, understand that your information is very valuable. And think about it before you, if anything, think about before you hit record on your phone. Think about it before you install something on your phone. Think about those things before you do it. Because again, your information is very valuable. And if you're going to have a presence on social media, use it to educate, to inform, to build up. You understand what I'm saying? Black folks, don't just build another platform where you're doing Bible studies. Okay? If you want to do that, then that's you. But don't just do Bible studies right now. We need people that are builders. We need engineers. We need people that are thinkers, okay? We need people that can develop stories that don't involve a lot of mess and divorce and people hating on each other. We need innovators, all right? If you're going to use the technology, use it to innovate and to build and to inspire these younger people that are coming up to do likewise. You understand what I'm saying? Because if all you're doing up here, like, child, let me tell you something about what the Lord had done. Okay, that's good. You want to do that, but you ain't going to build nothing with that. I'm just saying, you ain't building nothing with that. So this is the time there's got to be a mind shift in how we think when it comes to technology. And I'm speaking to y'all that are 50 on up, your late 40s on up. It's not too late. Start using your platform to build up, this generation. You know what I'm saying? And not just use it to be just talking about how bad your day is and how racist and demonic the world is against you. I mean, it's enough of that. We got too much of that. Let's use this thing to build up because we need some builders in this generation, okay? So I think that's it. My voice it sounds like it's almost gone now, but I gave it all I had. I hope you got something out of this broadcast this evening. And if you have anything you want to add, put it in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And listen, you guys take care, and I'll see you again soon. You guys take care.